Joining us now to talk about probably this, to talk DOGE, tariffs, and his town hall tour with voters across his state, Congressman Khanna of California, whose district lies in the heart of Silicon Valley. Congressman, it's always a pleasure to have you on this morning. I'm I guess interested in what you think of the whole idea of trying to onshore just about everything and sort of rebuild what was hollowed out after 20 or 30 years of globalization. Is that a noble purpose? Can it be done, in your view, Congressman?
I do think it's a noble purpose. I think it absolutely has to be done. We made a colossal mistake offshoring industry after industry, whether it was steel, aluminum, shipbuilding. My only concern is that tariffs is only one tool. We also need a government procurement policy. If you build it, we will buy it. That's what actually Trump did with Operation Warp Speed that led to the development of the vaccines. We need that for other industries. We need strategic financing and workforce development, and we need to focus it on deindustrialized areas. But I support the effort to make us a manufacturing superpower.
Yeah, there's other ways to do it, but tariffs are, do you think they're a kind of a blunt instrument? Is it being done the way you would do it? Do you favor any of these? I mean, I know Biden left quite a few on, the Biden administration did.
Yeah, I think some of them I do favor. On steel, I favor those. It's actually helped make Cleveland Cliffs and some of our steel companies more competitive. I favor the ones on aluminum. What I don't agree with is the blanket way that he's done it, and also some of the capricious way he's done it. One day it's on Mexico and Canada, the other day it's not. And so if it's a targeted effort at certain industries, that makes sense, but not the way that Trump has gone about it.
I bet you'd have similar comments about trying to, trying to cut the waste from, I'm not going to say DOGE, it's just too easy. It already has a stigma attached to it, I think. But let's talk about how big the government is, how much money that we're in debt for as a country, and the notion that maybe we waste taxpayer dollars. How would you get at the waste, fraud, and abuse?
Well, look, Joe, you're a straight shooter. It's a $36 trillion debt. The Republican 10-year budget that they just passed would add $28.5 trillion to that $36 trillion debt. It is actually $4.6 trillion more than the Biden budgets were. So if we want to seriously look at where the budget is and cutting spending, why aren't we looking at the Pentagon budget that's nearly $1 trillion? Now, we need a strong national security, but a lot of defense contractors are monopolies. Why aren't we looking at what Big Pharma is charging Medicare? Why aren't we looking at Medicare Advantage that is upbilling, that is billing for patients sicker, claiming they're sicker than they are? There are a lot of big ticket items where we could have real savings.
Yeah, those are, the same arguments that Democrats and Republicans have been having forever. But in fact, I just tweeted something out that said that fraud, waste, and abuse is probably the biggest bipartisan thing that we have. That it's not specific to what my policies are or what my politics are. If it's being levied by the federal government, it probably is inefficient because there's no reason for it not to be.
Well, look, there's certain things that are not inefficient. Medicare, Social Security,
what?
Large parts of
Medicare's not inefficient. Come on, are you out of your mind? Medicare? And I'm not saying it's Medicare's fault necessarily. Look around and look at the way Medicare is gamed out by the people that benefit from it, or Medicaid. Medicare Advantage might be one of the things that we're talking about, right, Ro?
Medicare Advantage, I agree that they have actually had higher billing for people who are not as sick. But when you look at Medicare, the administrative cost of that program is far, far lower than private insurance, and most people who are on Medicare are pretty happy with Medicare, and that is actually a place where government is more efficient than the private sector. So I do think there is a huge role for government. And you look at the Medicaid cuts that they're proposing, that in my town halls, that was the biggest thing people were concerned about, that they may not be able to get care for their kids or for their sick parents.
Ro, Medicaid, because you get, in some states, you get double the amount of reimbursement for it, is being used for after-school programs to teach chess. It started out as something to try to help people, poor people with disabilities, or that, it's turned into this behemoth that covers so many wide areas. And you said a cut in Medicare. It's just a cut in the growth of Medicaid. It's just a cut in the growth of Medicaid that Republicans are proposing.
It's an $880 billion cut in Medicaid that, if you ask people in my state, would lead to possibly hospitals closing. I mean, there were people coming with it. One woman came with her 2-year-old kid. The kid was in NICU, fortunately survived, needs home care to thrive, and then needs to have a nurse go to school with him. And she was very, very concerned about what the cuts would mean. I mean, these are real issues. And the question is why? Why $880 billion out of Medicaid when you could look at defense, when you could look at other parts of the
Isn't
budget?
it out of the increase? Is there any year in the future where Medicaid spending would be less than the prior year?
No, but you have to look at the inflation. I mean, you can't
Okay.
holding something.
You caused that. Your party caused that too. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's growing faster than inflation, Ro, and it goes up every year. They're just talking about cutting the size of the growth that is expected over the next, 10 years?
No, but I agree that healthcare costs are way too high, and the way to go after that is to increase residencies, so we have more doctors, increase nurses, negotiate with the big pharma companies to bring down drug prices, make sure that you're reforming the PBMs that are adding a huge amount of costs, go after the fees that hospitals are charging, facility fees, have transparent billing. A lot of times you go in, you get treatments, you don't even know what they're costing. Let's bring down the cost, but don't just cut Medicaid where you're kicking off folks or closing hospitals.
Let's shift gears a little bit, and the state of the Democratic Party. We can throw in Signalgate if you want, because I think it was a mistake and kind of a fiasco, although the outcome was obviously what people wanted, but it could have ended differently. I think that's probably true, using an unsecure network like that. But it does. Suddenly I see, as I told Mark Warner yesterday, he had a bounce in his step suddenly. And a lot of Democrats had a bounce in their step. Is that going to be, it's not going to last forever. What's the Democrats do to find something that's going to resonate, do you think, at this point? Because it hasn't. Mid-20s for approval for Democrats.
Well, first of all, let me just talk about the Signal chat. I just don't understand why in the world they're doing it on Signal. I mean, it's not like they have to reinvent the wheel. Every administration comes in, there's a communication of top secret information in classified communication settings. Those top individuals, they basically bring the skiff to you. You can use that anywhere. And so it's just incompetence. But that's not going to be the defining message for the Democrats. One of the messages, very simple, that we're going to protect Medicaid and people's health care. We're going to protect the funding for disabilities. And we don't believe, and we've argued before, in the tax breaks to 83% of which are going to the 1%. We need to protect health care and education. But more than that, Donald Trump has a vision of how to build wealth from the 1980s and McKinley and Polk. I mean, let's conquer Canada, let's conquer Panama. We have a vision, Democrats, of how to build wealth today, in the future, for families. I represent Silicon Valley. We've got to invest in technology in different parts of the country. We need to invest in advanced manufacturing. We're going to be a party that builds economic wealth for communities for the future, not the past.